All right, what is up? Welcome back to Fantasy Endgame. As always, a crazy week. I think we're going to say that pretty much every week. Fantasy football. I could be doing victory laps right now as a Dolphin fan. It's a little early in the season
Yeah.
for that. To me, almost just as sweet was seeing Cam Akers score a touchdown, but that's just me personally. All right, Chris, takeaways from week 3. Sadly, your Commanders' defense was just as bad as you predicted. Philadelphia just embarrassed them.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like there's 1 or 2 weeks every year in the football season where crazy stuff happens and things go not close to how we thought, and then people overreact to it. And I feel like this might be that week. Like JT was bad, Jefferson was terrible, Tyreek was terrible, Chase was only good because he caught a touchdown. He was terrible outside of that. Who else was everybody was bad? Like Mixon was bad. Like guys we thought would be great were bad, and guys we thought would be bad were great. And guys catching touchdowns like Jelani Woods had 2 touchdowns, like random touchdowns. It just felt like one of those weeks. So I feel like this is a week you don't want to overreact to. Like you don't want to read too much into this week and start saying like Justin Jefferson's a bust and I don't know what whatever. So that's my biggest takeaway is I'm gonna try not to overreact to what I saw today.
Well, what I kind of said a few times was this always happens, right? Week 3, this is a get right week for a lot of players and teams because when teams get down 0-2, they know this is desperation time. If you go to 0-3, you're I don't know what the record. I guess I could look it up what the stat is, but starting out 0-3, making the playoffs, fat chance, right? It's not going to happen, and then your morale is down. So we knew that we were going to see some of those teams that start 0-2 fight back, and sure enough. Or I guess technically those teams that tied in week 1, that's almost worse than a loss, tying. But the Colts beating the Chiefs, look, before the season started, we knew the Colts had a good chance to win their division. They're a good team, and they just looked terrible the first 2 weeks, and then they came back and beat the Chiefs. That shouldn't really be too shocking if you think about it. The Colts are supposed to be a good team. To me, and the Titans too. Like I said, you just got embarrassed in week 2. And they came back and they won. Well, that's because the Raiders are actually worse, I guess. To me, the real shock, though, I did not see coming was the Chargers. Even with Justin Herbert playing, it didn't matter. And it was their defense, really. So I don't know if I either just really underestimated the Jaguars or for overestimating the Chargers or both. But I did not see the Jaguars going to a West Coast team, a good team, and just thumping them.
Yeah, that was. I've been saying for a while. I think the Jaguars will be better than people think, but that was still shocking to me. That Chargers defense. I guess losing Bosa was just a huge blow.
I guess, but the thing is, Eckler. I don't even know. I thought Eckler would be better this week. He's just. I'm legitimately concerned, and I really don't have Eckler. I don't think I have him anywhere in redraft because I wasn't taking him in the first round. That's where he was going, but. I would be really worried if I was an Eckler owner. And then James Robinson, I guess he's just going to be a league winner again. He really looks like one of the best running backs in the NFL. I definitely did not see that.
Crazy. Definitely did not see that.
All right, let's get to the comments. Guys, we're here for you. All right, because we could talk football all day and all night, and we do. Let's first do a couple of things. Remind you that besides the regular chat, if you throw a super chat up there, we'll put it first. All right. I know we're not doing lineup questions unless you want to know something about Sunday night. So that's part of the reason we're doing this now, Sunday evening show, because there is still a game tonight and tomorrow. If you have a question, maybe things turned on you, maybe an injury issue, maybe you need, a lot of upside on the last couple of contests here. So if you have a start sit question, we will get to those first, right? For the next couple of games here. Also, you can throw those questions on the Discord. If you're not in the Discord already, do that. Information is in the description below. And also hit subscribe and like if you haven't already.
Yes, definitely.
We're here for you. So let's start getting to the comments. Let's start with our guy. I think he just always wants to be first, and that's the Bus. We do have to talk about Elijah Moore. Look, we kind of recommended him. We're not saying you had to start him, but there was a lot of kind of questionable start sit, and Elijah Moore. We said, don't give up on Elijah Moore. What do you think?
This is hard because he hasn't done anything, but he got 10 targets. Like
Right.
it's not like this isn't like Allen Robinson, who or like this is not like Darnell Mooney, who is barely getting targeted and not catching. He's getting the targets, and the Jets are throwing. I don't know why. Like Joe Flacco can throw the ball to Garrett Wilson fine. He can throw it to Tyler Conklin fine. Like throw it to Braxton Berrios fine. I don't know why him and Elijah Moore can't connect. Like 10 targets. So I don't know. I do know they have Elijah Moore running more of the vertical routes right now. And look, Joe Flacco's old. He used to be a good deep ball thrower. Like right when they won that Super Bowl, he could throw the deep ball. He can't really do it anymore. So maybe it gets better when Zach Wilson comes back. But I don't think I can start Elijah Moore until I see something. That's for sure.
That's the interesting thing here is this offense will change when Zach Wilson comes back. Will it be next week? I don't know. I'm not sure if it will be next week, but it's going to be really soon. So maybe Zach Wilson has a better connection more or less of a connection with Wilson. Who knows? No, I wouldn't drop Elijah Moore if you don't have to. I also don't think I would start him next week, though, until we see a little bit more production. Yeah. Now, we just talked about James Robinson. I mean, can you drop Etienne? Mooney, yeah, just don't even think twice.
Mooney,
just drop
Mooney for sure you can drop. You can't. Okay, this is what I would ask you if you're going to drop Etienne. Would you drop Darrell Henderson? Would you have dropped Khalil Herbert prior to this week? Would you have dropped Alexander Madison prior to this week? Hopefully not, because if you had those guys, you're feeling pretty good right now. Etienne is still, I mean, sure, you can't feel good starting Etienne, but he's still a James Robinson injury away from being the only guy they have. Like Snoop Connor's not Snoop Connor's not taking work from Etienne. And it's not like Etienne has looked bad when he got the ball. It's just James Robinson's getting the ball more, like way more than him. That's all. So you can't drop Etienne. You have to just hold him on your bench because again, he's a high-end handcuff right now. Like I have Rashad White stashed. Okay, like Rashad White's not going into my lineup, but I have him stashed because if Leonard Fournette gets hurt, I'm going to be ecstatic that I have Rashad White on all my teams. And it's the same thing with Etienne. Like, you can't drop him. You just have to hold him. Mooney, you can drop. Like, come on. 100 yards passing today against the Texans. Like, they don't even try to throw the ball. Like, you can drop Mooney. You can definitely drop Mooney.
Yeah, definitely drop Mooney. And I don't think it's even his fault. It's just that offense, bad situation. I guess it wasn't just Matt Nagy. It's just something about Chicago.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe it's Justin Fields.
Maybe it's
Justin Fields.
But it's weird because Justin Fields was the quarterback most of last year, and Mooney had a 1,000-yard season. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. Okay, so we do have a start-sit question for tonight. Okay, so
gotta go
Aiyuk or Jeudy?
Yeah, gotta go Jeudy. I don't like Aiyuk's matchup, and yeah, I gotta go Jeudy.
I mean, I had Aiyuk as a bust. Jeudy is playing, right? As far as we know, no.
Yeah, Judy's in.
I mean, obviously warming up right now. Maybe he does, but I think he's good to go. I would go Jeudy also. All right. Let's talk about some good surprises.
Yes, Russell Gage.
Gage. Okay. Wish we had advocated for him strong. Look, I feel like look, we both were drafting a ton of Russell Gage, right?
Yeah. I have a Russell Gage on like half my teams. Yeah.
Ton of Russell Gage. It's just we weren't sure this week because he was questionable and he hadn't really done much. And a lot of it is because they were so bad, right? Yeah. We said sit Tom Brady, right? Hopefully you sat Tom Brady. Yeah. But they were so bad and they were down. They had to throw the ball so much in the second half, and Gage was the guy who benefited. So I kind of wish we had stumped for him harder, but he just didn't know.
I mean, I will say, like I had Gage in a lineup where I was like, it's like I think it was our King League. And it's a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex. I had him as my second flex. And then when they announced Keenan Allen was out and Herbert was playing, I switched him for Josh Palmer, which, Josh Palmer did okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see this game from Russell Gage. Now, in fairness, prior to that touchdown, he had like 11 catches for 80 yards. Like he was only averaging like 8 yards a catch. And that was one of the things I said. I was like, in week 1, he had like 5 catches for 28 yards. And he still does not look 100%. Today was almost like, you're all we have. Like we don't. Cole Beasley just got here. Rashard Perriman is who he is. Like we're just going to throw it to you for 5 yards over and over and over because that's all we really have. So, yeah, I'm not going too crazy for Gage. Like, he's not going to be in my lineup next week, especially with Evans being back. And I don't know who the matchup is yet, but like, he's still not I know he had a big game today because he caught 11 passes and a touchdown, but he's still a guy. Like, he needs incredible volume still. And I don't feel like he's 100%. So.
And that's the thing. A lot of what he did came on the very last drive of the game, right? The very end there. But this also kind of confirms what we were saying all preseason is Gage is a really good pick. And Evans will be back, but Godwin's still not back. Julio, just forget about Julio. I mean, he's going to be probably the number 2 guy there. And they don't really have it. They're not throwing to the tight ends that much. You know, Brady, he threw it a little bit today because he kind of had to. But so this makes me feel good about the process we used in drafting Gage high
for sure
this season. So, yeah, definitely high on Russell Gage. A guy that we definitely knew would do well today was Devontae Smith.
Yes.
Obviously, I didn't think he would outperform A.J. Brown by that much. But, dude, Devontae Smith is a stud. Let's not forget. You know, he and Jalen Waddle, these are guys that, along with Jamar Chase, were the highest of picks last year at wide receiver. Yeah. These are studs.
I mean, people forget, like, real quick, just going into the draft last year, the debate was Chase or Smith. Who's the top wide? It wasn't like, yeah, I think most people had Chase as the number 1, but it wasn't like Jamar Chase up here and like Devonta Smith way down here. It was like Chase and Smith were like the clear 1-2, right? Like, so. And he had a great rookie season on a team that barely threw the ball. And yeah, I mean, I think you and I both have a ton of Devonta Smith. I was trading for him in Dynasty everywhere I could. Sadly, I benched him in one league this week. Oh, well. I think I still won, so it was okay, but it was painful to see those points on my bench. But I think I still won, but yeah.
I mean, I thought it would be a huge Brown week, and it was a good Brown week. I think he had 5 for 85 and a touchdown. That was good. But I kind of wish I had Devontae Smith in that DFS lineup instead, but that's okay. Dobbs, I mean, look, I know that a lot of the Packers receivers hurt, but they're kind of still hurt. Like Christian Watson, even if he's not hurt, I don't expect him to do anything. Watkins is on IR. You know, do you think this is something more?
I mean, Lazard actually did a little something, but they don't really have much. They don't have much. So I think you have to be encouraged. I mean, man, what do we got? London, Wilson, Olave broke out today. Dobbs looks like he might. Burks disappointed me this week for sure. I thought he would be better. But we're seeing a lot of rookie wide receivers already having an impact, like early in the season. So I don't know if I'm ready to put him in my lineup yet, but do not let go of Romeo Doubs right now. Hold on tight.
Yeah, Dobbs. Yeah, I don't think that he's going to be this year's Jamar Chase, but
no, it's too late for that.
Yeah, but you know, I think he's solid. Definitely a solid sleeper. Do you have to talk about this? Like, what is up with DeAndre Swift? Because Jamal Williams was getting all the run, and he actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, so I do talk. I'm going to talk about Swift in our panic video that's going to come out later tonight after the Sunday night game. I'm going to also talk about another guy that I'll pull up here if somebody asks about. There's part of me that thinks it's the ankle. Because remember, what did Staley say in the offseason? This guy's got to play through pain. He needs to play through pain. Well, now he's playing through pain, and it's like Deuce Staley's realizing, like, oh, that's right, you're hurt. I can't have you out there a ton because you're hurt. It's like, yeah, it's great to play through pain, but you also, like, have to be able to play. So part of me wonders, like, is it just the ankle, or is this going to be like, is this how it is? And I'm not ready to believe that Jamal Williams is going to be the guy. like I'm not ready to believe that. So I'm going to go lean a little bit on the side of it's the ankle. Cause we even saw, who's their other running back? What's his name?
Like Craig Reynolds, Justin Jackson.
Yeah, like Reynolds. He was even getting run in this game. And it's like, okay, I don't believe that, like, they're that low on Swift that he's, Jamal's number one and him and Reynolds are splitting the backup role. Like, come on. I think it's the ankle. I don't think he's 100%. He's playing through it because Staley told him, you have to play through this stuff now. And he's like, fine, I'll play through it. I'm hobbled. Like, I'm not 100%. I'll play through it. And this is what we're going to get. So that's my thinking. But I obviously don't know. I'm not in there, with the team.
And that's the thing with Swift, because he always seems to be kind of banged up, and that's just what makes him so risky. But I mean, I don't know. Not to give it away, because we still got a couple days. But is he a buy low? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe.
All right.
Hold on. We gotta talk about this one too.
Yeah.
Because this guy's gonna be on the video. What happened today? What happened? Like, what happened today?
Well, we can't expect the guy to, be a stud every single week, right? It's not always going to happen. Other teams pay attention, and other teams give, their best effort to try to stop that guy. The Lions do have a pretty good secondary, not a shutdown guy per se, but they do have a couple of good corners. I think they just gave a lot of attention to Justin Jefferson. They said, you're going to beat us with other guys. Jefferson was targeted 6 times.
Yeah, that's
Osborne and Thielen each targeted 8 times.
Yeah.
And look, I think part of it too is because remember the first 2 weeks we didn't see anything, like nothing from Osborne and hardly anything from Thielen. So I think they're trying to figure out, Minnesota. It's like we kind of have to diversify this offense. Dalvin Cook really wasn't involved much either the first 2 weeks. This was a great Dalvin Cook week until he got hurt. And it worked. I mean, it did. Like Minnesota could force feed Justin Jefferson the ball 20 times, but it kind of works better when everybody's involved. So I'm not too worried about it because there's nothing wrong with Jefferson. It's not like he's just like lollygagging out there. It's not like he's not getting targeted at all. So I'm just chalking this up to he wasn't involved.
Yeah, no, he's too good of a player to like panic about, but it was such a great, like, it's a spot where like Justin Jefferson's going to go off. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they doubled him like 70% of the time. Like you said, they were just like, other guys are going to beat us. And so I don't know, but as long as he plays well next, like I'm not ready to full-fledged panic on Justin Jefferson yet. So.
No, and don't sell Jefferson. Don't trade him. Don't do anything crazy. Okay, so we do have a start sit here from Nicholas of the super chat. So Jeudy or Shepard?
I'm still going to go Jeudy. The thing with Shepard is I like Shepard, and I think he's a solid play in like PPR leagues, but like 12, 13, 14 points from Shepard, unless you get lucky and he scores a touchdown, like, right, that's all you're really going to get from Shepard. Jeudy could do that on like half the volume, right? Jeudy could get you 5 or 6 catches and, 60, 70 yards and equal Shepard on half the volume. Whereas Shepard's going to need 7 or 8 catches, 6, 7 plus catches to do anything. So I'm still going to go Jeudy.
Yeah, I go Jeudy. Like you said, it's there's more upside there. I mean, if he's good to go and he's playing, he's still a solid play. I know the Broncos haven't looked very good this year so far. They'll figure it out. They'll get right. I think Jeudy. I think that's who I would go with too. All right, so Libra, the God, needs 12 points. Jeff Wilson or Jeudy? I mean, to me, it's got to be Jeudy.
It's got to be Jeudy. He has a better chance of getting 12 points. Like I said, 5, 6 catches, 60 yards. 6 catches, 60 yards. He's at the 12 points, and you win. So I think it's got to be Jeudy.
Yeah, and you're talking PPR. Jeff Wilson's not a pass catching back. He's not.
Jeff Wilson has to score to get you 12 points. He has to score. Like, he's not going to run for 120 yards, probably.
Exactly. If they're down big, you're not going to see Jeff Wilson out there in third down. So he's going to get pulled. So, yeah, you definitely can't go with Wilson there. Good luck with that. Hopefully you get those points. Low-key Dusty, remember he had a lot of questions for us earlier. Thanks for the advice to start Rodgers over Jimmy G.
I mean, we haven't seen Jimmy G yet, so it's just a little too early to victory lap. I don't think Aaron Rodgers was incredible today, was he? What did he get? He got 17. I mean, Jimmy G could get 17. That's not a huge game. So, I mean, I think it's a little early to say, take the victory on that. But Aaron Rodgers wasn't terrible today, so that's good.
It wasn't terrible. He found the end zone at least. Tyler, my man, is back. Been at work, just popping in to show your support. We appreciate that.
Having to work during football, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah, that is wrong. Like, especially for a guy, we know you're in a lot of leagues and very active. I mean, you just quit that job right now. No,
exactly. Don't really quit the job.
Just don't do that. All right. Another question from Dusty. Picked up Hollins last night. Very nice. Is it a fluke? Well, you know what? We had this talk this morning on our Patreon show. We do starts it just for patrons, by the way. Got one of our very first, I think maybe he was the first, Gus, always with us. And he asked about Mac Hollins. I think, who was it he asked about? Was it like Mac Hollins or somebody else?
Yeah, somebody.
Maybe it was Shepard or somebody. And I said, I kind of like Hollins this week. You know, he's not a must start. Like, I'm not going to say I called it. He's going to be the leading receiver. But look, he did something last week too. It was like 60 yards, 6 catches. And we knew Renfrow was going to be out. And we knew that the Raiders are going to pass a lot because that's just what they're doing in this offense. And I kind of felt like Tennessee was going to get right and win this game, which they did. Now, I didn't know Mac Hollins was going to get that much attention, but it's pretty obvious because he won the number 3 receiver job out of camp, and obviously he's clicking with Carr. So I don't think it's a fluke. Now, if Renfrow comes back next week, which he probably will, yeah, you can't expect that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a total fluke.
Yeah, I mean, it's a total fluke in the sense of like how big the game was, right? It's not a total fluke that he was involved. Like, I think we both felt like we do a sleepers video for our patrons, and I put Mac Hollins on there. I say, hey, look, if Hunter Renfrow does not clear concussion protocol, he's got a great matchup against Tennessee. We know their secondary is terrible. It's just he's gonna be involved. Now, I don't think we expected him to have like that big of a game, of course. Like, no, of course not. But yeah, like Pierre said, if Renfro's back next week, that does hurt him a little bit. But I still think he's a guy to hold on to because, like you said, last week he was still involved. Like, he's not just a slot guy, right? He's not a guy who just has to play in the slot. So even if Renfro's back, he can still play on the other side, alongside Adams. So I still think he's a decent hold. And this offense is throwing the ball a lot. So
yeah, and that's I'm curious. Everything hasn't been settled yet. And once we get all the official stats tomorrow, we'll look at it. But I have a feeling Raiders are probably among the leaders in pass percentage rate. Yeah. I mean, they're just going to do that. Well, I mean, they kind of have to do that. Obviously, their own 3, they're not exactly playing from ahead, right? So they've had to pass the ball a lot, but I don't think that's really going to change really soon. Tyler, manager hours. Oh, man.
Yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, got you. Well, at least, hopefully you can get something on the phone or, keep an eye on the games while you're there. Okay, Clyde wants to know, hot waiver add next week, Dobbs or Herbert? I mean, both. It depends what you need, but I mean, really, the running back always takes priority, right?
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, unless have we heard like with a timeline on David Montgomery yet? Like, all I've heard was knee and shoulder.
What I read about Montgomery actually is I think it was him who said he's good, quote unquote good. He might play next week. So don't go crazy for Herbert. But here's the thing. Herbert has shown he does have value even if Montgomery plays. He's getting carries. He can find the end zone. He rips off big runs. So that's the thing. Herbert is definitely worth picking up because, you really don't want to start him in a PPR league if Montgomery's active. But yeah, there's a better chance you need him as opposed to a receiver like Dobbs. So and I'm obviously going to talk about him. The waiver wire video going to go out tomorrow early. So I'll let you know. Okay. I don't see any other super chats, so I'll keep an eye out for that.
All right.
So what else?
Here's a trade one. So what would you give up for Madison as a Cook owner in a trade? Not a lot.
Well, Cook is another one. I mean, the shoulder, we know it's basically the same issue as last year, right?
Yeah.
He's also one. What I read is that it says that he's just going to basically wear a brace. Like he's going to be in there next week and he's going to play. So you might not really need to start Madison. You might be fine with Cook. You don't want to overpay. This is the worst thing you can do is overpay for a backup running back. And he's not just a backup like who comes in and splits time. Like he's the backup. He doesn't play unless Cook is hurt. So this is the wrong time to be buying on Madison. Like pick him up if he's out there. But, somebody who's got Madison and doesn't have Cook, they're licking their chops ready to get those trade offers, right?
Yeah, don't do anything crazy. Even if he misses a game, even if Cook misses next week, you can live without Cook for 1 week. You don't need Madison that badly. If you can get him, like for somebody on your bench who you're just stashing, that's fine. But don't do anything crazy. And then we got here. So I want to talk about this one because I was very excited. Okay, first of all, if you watched our buy low videos, last week, I had Damien Pierce. I said, go get Damien Pierce. I said, go get Chris Olave. And I said, and for like the second week in a row, or maybe every week, I've said, go get Breece Hall. Breece Hall is this close to making Michael Carter irrelevant in that offense. Like he's this close right now, you guys. I'm going to mention him real quick on the buy low this week, but this is probably your last chance. But anyways, I want to talk about Damien Pierce because Damien Pierce was awesome today, but there's a big but. He fumbled and got benched, and it was all Rex Burkhead down the stretch. So I'm a little nervous about Damien Pierce now. I'm like, oh man, like, is he in the doghouse? Now, hopefully it's fine next week and everything's good because he looks like the guy and he was awesome today. But I'm a little nervous about that fumble. So
yeah, that was really aggravating. I mean, I don't have a lot of Pierce, but I do have him in one league. And then, yeah, he was having a good game. And then they're in the like inside the 10-yard line. And it's Rex Burkhead carry, Rex Burkhead target. And it's like, your nightmare. But I think he'll be fine. He's clearly the guy. Burkhead now is just kind of a change of pace. So, yeah, Pierce, he's already showing what he can do. Breece Hall, yeah, the window is still open, but it's not going to be for much longer. It's not
really. I mean, it was like they almost had the same carries today. Breece Hall was way better, and Breece Hall, like 11 targets to 2 or something like that today. Like the window is like this barely open, and you guys are because see, too many people need instant gratification, right? And we need that in all aspects of our life. People are like, well, Breece Hall isn't getting it done right now, so I don't want him. Instead of thinking more long term, like, hey, when he takes over this backfield, he's going to absolutely destroy fantasy leagues. So you've got this much of a window right now. Go get Breece Hall. That's what I'm telling you. Go get Breece Hall.
And remember, the playoffs happen at the end of the season, not the beginning.
Yeah, you're not even going to care about week 3. Like what happened in week 3 last year? I'll bet you don't remember. But I'll bet you remember Rashad Penny and Amon-Ra and Jamar Chase going off in week 17. I'll bet you remember that.
That's right. All right, so here's the start set. Which running back should you start? So he's talking about Javonte or Jeff Wilson?
You got to start. You still got to start Javonte.
Easily.
He's better. He'll catch passes. I know it's a tough matchup, but you still got to start him.
But it's a tough matchup on both sides. That's the thing. It's not like there's one versus the other. And then I said this, I don't feel like Denver's offense is going to put up a ton of points. I feel like this is a game, even though Jeudy's active, Javonte is going to catch several passes, right? That's just part of their offense.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's Javonte. Wilson just doesn't have that in him, right? That's not part of his game.
Yeah. Here's another guy we could talk about, Kamara. Are we worried about Kamara? Are we worried about how they're using Kamara?
I mean, they're using him a little less. They're throwing a little bit more. I mean, it was weird today because even though the Carolina offense is not that good, New Orleans is worse. And I don't know how. Carolina won that game. I guess that was one of their one of those get-right situations, right? They kind of needed a win, and they were at home. I don't think that's going to last. Kamara, maybe he wasn't really 100% coming off that injury, right? We knew he was questionable, limited practice. I think he had padding in his ribs. He didn't look quite right. Like, obviously, and there's that one fumble he had. I think they got it back, but he just tossed the ball up, right? He didn't look like himself. I think he'll be better. He's got definitely a better matchup next week, Minnesota defense. So I'm not too worried. But actually, one thing that is encouraging, I guess, not that we prey on downfalls here, but New Orleans, like every receiver for the Saints besides Olave is hurt, like all of them. So we might see Kamara more involved.
I think MT came back in the game though, right? Is Landry got hurt?
Landry got hurt. Traquan Smith concussion.
I mean,
Michael Thomas, of course, got hurt.
I think I guess I'm not worried about Kamara because I never was high on Kamara this year. I was like, Kamara is like fine if you draft him as an RB2, but this is the problem. People can't disconnect names from situations. And I'm going to talk about this about Aaron Jones in tonight's video. People can't disconnect name from situations. Alvin Kamara is not going to come anywhere close to 80 receptions probably ever again in his life. Like that Kamara is gone forever. He's got 2 catches today. What do you have? Like 2 catches in week 1. And without that part of his game, he's not a great between the tackles runner. He's good. Only 4 yards per carry today. He's fine. But without that part of his game, his ceiling is not like what it was. So if he's like your RB2, okay, that's fine. But a lot of people were drafting this guy in like the 2nd round as their RB1. You maybe they go wide receiver in the 1st and then Kamara in the 2nd. And it's like, he's not going to be that guy because he can't catch 80 passes. Jameis Winston is not a dump off guy. Olave looks like he's going to be a monster. MT is healthy and good. Landry is there. I don't know what his injury was. I didn't see it. But there's weapons here, right? And he doesn't have a quarterback who's going to dump it off. So he'll be okay. He's like a serviceable, almost like a touchdown-dependent RB2, like almost like a James Conner, honestly, like a guy who catch a couple passes, not going to run for, 5-6 yards per carry and needs to go in the end zone. So he's serviceable, but that's how I felt about him before the season, and I still feel that way. That's how I feel about him.
Yeah, if you have him as your RB1, you're then you should be worried. That's a guy that I think from the very start of the offseason, like right after last season ended, you talk about guys who are going to be overvalued and guys we're going to worry about, potential bust. Alvin Kamara was a name that we said a lot. So we weren't drafting Alvin Kamara unless he fell like in round 3 or something.
Yeah.
And then, even then, probably not. So, all right, we'll throw this one up here. We think Ramondre is going to be the number 1 in New England. He had better stats than Damien Harris, but it's not like he really took over. He just was a little bit more effective, right?
Yeah, I was like watching the play-by-play of that game, but I haven't looked at the stats yet. So let me take a look. What was
It's going to be a timeshare. Like it has been a timeshare. It's not like Damien Harris was dominating and now all of a sudden Ramondre. It was 12 carries for Ramondre, 11 carries for Harris.
Yeah, the only difference was Ramondre did get 4 catches and Harris only 2.
Right.
But yeah, it almost feels like Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon to me.
It's 50-50.
It's a 50-50 split, which is why I don't understand why people are still so high on Aaron Jones. Like we don't have Damien Harris as like a 2nd round must start guy. Like why, I get Aaron Jones, but anyways, say that rant for the panic video. But yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to say Ramondre is the guy. It's a split. Like last week, Harris was quote unquote the guy. So I just think it's going to be like this. And unless one of them gets hurt or just plays like really, really well and makes the other guy irrelevant, which I don't think is going to happen, it's probably just going to be a split. Let's see.
All right. This, I think, it's a concerning question. Would you start Aiyuk or Noah Brown?
I'd probably go Noah Brown. I don't think Schultz plays, and if he does, I think he's going to be very limited and not very good. Like that PCL injury is going to affect him. Aiyuk in a tough matchup. Noah Brown's getting targets. He's getting the ball down the field enough. I think I go Noah Brown.
Yeah, and look, I'm not just kind of stubbornly sticking to my call here on Aiyuk, but if you think about it, they're both the number 2 receiver in their offense, right?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, it's not like Jimmy G is such a big upgrade over like Cooper Rush. Like they're kind of the same guy. Honestly, they're kind of the same guy. The better matchup goes to Brown, right? Going against the Giants as opposed to going against on the road to Denver. So, and who's gotten more targets the first 2 weeks? Noah Brown has gotten more targets than Aiyuk. So I go Noah Brown too.
Yeah. And then this is interesting because we were talking about this a little bit in the Discord, and I actually tweeted this out. I said, I'm getting 2015 running back vibes. And some of you may not, I know it's a long time ago, Pierre and I are old. Some of you might not have been playing fantasy in 2015. But that was the year Devonta Smith was the RB1, and he scored like 309 PPR points, which is terrible. Like Eckler scored more than that last year. I think Najee scored more than that last year. Like he would not have been the RB1 in most weeks. And and then the next year, 2016 is when everybody drafted 0 RB. Like everybody was like 0 RB was the only way you could draft. You have a standard scoring league. It doesn't matter. You draft 0 RB, right? It was like ridiculous. I'm getting those vibes. Like the running backs have been awful this year, like awful so far. Like who has been great? Like who's been great every week so far? Nobody. No running back has been like every week has been like, I'm so glad I have that guy. Like, yeah, guys have had weeks like Saquon in week 1, like Chubb in week 2, JT in week 1. Like guys have had weeks, but no running back has been great every single week so far. So yeah, it's been brutal for running back drafters for sure. Like early running backs been brutal.
And you're talking about the top running backs. If you're looking for an RB2 or a streamer or anything else on the waiver wire, forget it. Like there's nothing. Like I'm looking at who can I pick up? There's nobody. It's like Khalil Herbert. If he's out there, that's it. It's a passing league. It's really become it. But really what we've seen happen, and it kind of officially started last year, it's a wide receiver centered league. Now, wide receivers are what it used to be running backs, right? And then before that, it used to be all about the quarterback. The quarterback's still maybe the most important player, but the wide receiver seems to be the guy that makes each offense go. I mean, think about last year, the Super Bowl. It was, people made it out of Stafford versus Burrow. No, it was Jamar Chase versus Cooper Kupp. That's what got those guys there. All right. And Cooper Kupp is probably more valuable than any running back you can think of at this point.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing it week in and week out, right? Justin Jefferson will be fine. He'll get there, right? Jamar Chase, I'm not too worried about. I don't know if he'll do what he did last year, but still, it's all about the receivers. So the running backs, there's two ways to think about it in draft day. It's like, well, do you want to secure one of the guys who is maybe the top guy, one of the top guys, like a Jonathan Taylor, so you don't have to worry about it? Or do you just go for a receiver, go 0 RB? I mean,
but then you draft Jonathan Taylor and you still have to worry about it. Right? Or you
Austin Eckler.
Austin, like what first round running back? Like not JT one good week, CMC no really good. I mean, CMC hasn't been like awful, but he hasn't been great. Najee same thing. He hasn't been awful, but he hasn't been great. Dalvin Cook hasn't been great. Like I mean, Dalvin Cook today, people are like, "Yeah, Dalvin Cook, what did he get? 13 points, and he scored a touchdown." Like, who else in the first round? Okay, Derrick Henry had a great game today, finally, but he was terrible the first 2 weeks. Mixon, great week 1, been terrible the last 2 weeks. Like, man, none of these guys, like none of the Austin Eckler, none of these guys. It's been crazy. Yeah.
It's weird. At Najee. We're waiting for Najee to break out.
Yeah. But it's still week 3. Like, again, remember David Montgomery a couple years ago didn't do anything and then won people leagues down the stretch. Like, Amon-Ra last year didn't do anything, won people league. It's okay. It's still time.
All right, what about Mike Williams? I mean, yeah, he got in the end zone, but I think it's just a bad game for the Chargers.
Yeah, and look, I talk about this with a few players in tonight's video. You didn't draft Mike Williams because he gives you a nice, safe 12 to 15 points week in and week out. Like when you draft Mike Williams, when you draft Gabe Davis, you are signing up for the roller coaster. Okay, you're saying, I get it. There's gonna be some bad weeks. But when this guy hits, I get the win. I get the win in the column, right? I get the W because he gets me like 35 fantasy points, and as long as the rest of my team is just okay, I get the win. That's what you sign up for with these guys. So I'm not worried about Mike Williams. Like, yeah, Herbert had a rib injury, probably way less than 100%. The Chargers on both sides of the ball look terrible today. I'm not worried about Mike Williams. You signed up for this. Yeah. For real. Like I signed up for him in a few leagues, and I understand. Like there's going to be weeks where he gets me 5 points. There's going to be weeks where he gets me 40 and 35 or whatever. So it's fine.
Yeah, you benefited last week, and this week you don't. I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
All right, Stinger wants to know his chances. He's up 8. Right. He has Aiyuk, Sutton, and Noah Brown, and his opponent has Russ.
I like your chances. You're ahead 8, so that means Russ has to outscore all those guys by 8. I think I like your chances. I mean,
yeah,
unless Aiyuk, Sutton, and Brown all bomb. But for Sutton to bomb would mean Russ probably bombs too, unless like Jeudy and Albert O have monster games or Javonte catches 2 touchdowns, right? Something like that. So I like your chances. I think you have a good chance.
And that's the thing. If Russ has a good game, you think Sutton would get something out of that. So I think you have a really good chance. Here's a good one. Chris, why do we hate Aiyuk?
I don't know. Aiyuk was a guy. I think both of us were really high on Aiyuk during the draft process, right? I know I was super high on Aiyuk in the draft process. I have too much Aiyuk right now. I'm like, man, I drafted too much Aiyuk. I liked Aiyuk in the draft process because number one, Trey Lance will throw the ball down the field. We didn't get to see it because he played in a monsoon week 1 and then he broke his ankle like early in week 2. We didn't get to see it. Whereas Jimmy G, he's not gonna do that, and if he does, he's not very good at it. I don't hate Aiyuk. We were all over Aiyuk last year too, and we weren't really on Debo. So it's like, but you can't like Aiyuk this week. And this matchup is a terrible matchup, and he's got Jimmy G thrown to him, and Jimmy G won't throw it in the tight windows. Jimmy G won't really throw it down the field. It's not a good spot for Aiyuk this week.
Yeah, actually, I like Aiyuk quite a bit this year. I just don't like him this week.
We both did.
That's just
like
not this week.
Where do we get there? I don't think I hate anybody. I don't think I hate any player. Like I don't.
It's always personal with you, isn't it?
Any player.
Oh, okay. Here's you got something or
no? I'm looking. Let's see.
Here's an interesting trade. Are we trading Jefferson and Thomas? I'm going, I guess, for Taylor and St. Brown.
Yeah, I think I'm doing that. I still think Jefferson is going to be awesome. I think Taylor will be fine. I think St. Brown will be much better than Michael Thomas. I mean, Michael Thomas today, 5 for 59, and that's a problem. He masked his lack of upside with touchdowns. But if you take out the touchdowns, he had 5 for 57 in week 1, 6 for 60 something last week, now 5 for 50 again. He's not racking up yards or receptions. He just scored 3 touchdowns in the first 2 games, which Devin Duvernay has 4 touchdowns in 3 games. Are we all like Devin Duvernay? Do we think Devin Duvernay is going to score 20 touchdowns? Are very random things, okay? Like they're not. So yes, I guess that's a long way of saying yes, I would do that trade.
Yeah, and it's fun down then if someone says, why would you trade Jefferson? That's crazy. That is crazy. And he's one of those guys I would say just never trade. But you usually wouldn't get Jonathan Taylor in return. Yeah. I mean, maybe the wide receiver 1 for the running back 1. And looking at your receivers, I mean, if you got, is that Hollywood Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Drake London? You don't, you're pretty good at receiver, and you're getting Sun God in return. And I'd definitely rather have him than Michael Thomas. So for this, I would do it.
Yeah, I would do that too.
And not because, Jefferson had a bad week. No, that has nothing to do with it. Taylor didn't have a great week either. So it just makes sense. All right, just so you know, guys, because the Sunday night game, we're just here till the kickoff is going to start about 10, 15 minutes or so. If you got start sit questions that have to do with tonight or tomorrow, let us know. We'll try to get to those first. You're looking for waiver wire advice. That video is going to come out tomorrow morning. You want to know who you should be panicked about? Well, Chris definitely has you covered, and you'll get that pretty soon, right? Dropping tonight. So let's see what else we have here. Okay, well, actually, we do need to talk about Rashard Bateman.
Okay. I mean, did he almost have a touchdown? There's that one off the fingertips, but I'm not sure he would have scored on that. It wasn't like he was not like Gabe Davis, who literally dropped a touchdown. Gabe Davis literally dropped a touchdown. Bateman, it went through his fingertips, but the guy still tackled him at the 2, even though he didn't have the ball. I'm not sure Bateman would have definitely scored, but I was talking about this with Bateman. Bateman's another guy to me. He's like a Mike Williams. He's like a Gabe Davis. Because he's not getting a ton of targets. Only, 5 targets again today? 7 last week, and 5 in week 1. And in week 1, he had a 50-yard catch, and in week 2, obviously, he had that 75-yard touchdown. He needs big plays because he's not a high-volume guy, and this isn't a high like Leonard Lamar Jackson almost Leonard Fournette. Lamar Jackson isn't just going to lock in on him. He locks into Mark Andrews, but then he kind of spreads it around. So you just have, again, I talk about him in the panic video. You have to ride the highs and ride the lows and just accept that's who he is.
And that's not what I thought we were going to get from Rashard Bateman. I really thought he would be the opposite, more of a steady target guy. The big plays would come once in a while. The way they're using him is exactly the way they use Hollywood Brown, is run deep. And, Andrews soaks up all those underneath targets. And, of course, Lamar Jackson, I think they just really want to clear out space for Lamar to run. That's what they're doing, and take those shots deep, and it works, right? That's why Duvernay has 4 touchdowns. That's why Bateman has those big plays. But then when those big plays don't come, you could be left dry. Yeah. So he's going to be a lot more volatile than I anticipated. And that's just the nature of this Baltimore offense. Now, the good thing is Baltimore's defense still sucks terribly. So they're going to have to pass the ball a lot. Lamar is still throwing it plenty, and they're going to score. So I feel like Bateman is somebody you should lock in most weeks, but kind of like Mike Williams, right? You probably want to just keep him in your lineup so you don't miss the boom, but you have to know he's not going to be a safe play every week.
Yeah. And then how worried should we be for Eckler? How worried are we? Yep. Yeah, I mean, got to be. I mean, it wasn't a game where the Chargers could really run the ball. He did have 8 catches to kind of save his day, but yeah, got to be worried. Definitely got to be worried.
Is, I mean, there's regret, like for touchdowns, there's regression, and then there's just completely forget it, not even being used. He had 4 carries, and the thing is, Michelle had 5 carries. I mean,
well, that's the thing. They couldn't really run the ball today, right? They couldn't, the Jags just rolled them, so they couldn't run it. But we've seen even the last 2 weeks, he's not getting goal line carries. It's going to be hard. He's got, he even said it. I don't know if you see he does that podcast with Matt Harmon, and he said, I've got to score from the 3-point line. Like it's a different system. Joshua Kelly and Sonny Michel, they're getting the goal line carries. I got to score from the 3-point line, and it's hard to score from the 3-point line in the NFL. It's really hard. So, it's don't expect 20. I mean, obviously he's not going to score 20 touchdowns. That's almost impossible at this point. So yeah.
Yeah. I'd definitely be worried about Eckler.
Yeah, definitely worried.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. Yeah, a lot of people had Olave on their bench. We did tell a lot of people to start him. But look, from this point forward, I mean, obviously it depends on your other wide receivers, but you can feel good starting Olave. That's 25 targets in the last 2 weeks. And Olave, he was my favorite prospect because he's an incredible route runner, and they're using him in the vertical game. And he's got Jameis Winston, who I just talked about, doesn't like to check it down. Jameis Winston doesn't like to take the check down. He wants to chuck it down the field. So I think Olave at this point, unless you have awesome wide receivers, of course, you can feel good starting him. Not every week, but most weeks.
Look, I know it's annoying to have that on your bench, but you should actually be happy that you have him on your bench. You don't have to go out and spend up to try to get him, because I am going to talk about it. Look, he's only rostered in 2/3 right now of Yahoo leagues. That means there's a lot of leagues where he's not even, he's still out there. But I guess annoying, but part of it was because of the fact that all their other receivers got hurt, right? And they fell behind, which, I mean, who really thought Carolina would go up big on the Saints? So, no one really saw that kind of day coming. But, Chris has been all over Olave from day one. Favorite receiver prospect. He told you a couple of weeks ago, just get him, stash him now. And he's going to be the number 1 receiver there. If he's not, I guess technically he is already. So it's already happened.
Because we were chatting in the Discord. We have our game day discussion which, by the way, guys, if you're not in our Discord server, you need to get in there. You can ask all these questions in there, and Pierre and I are in there a ton, but also lots of other people are in there a ton who are really smart and really sharp. So you need to it's free. You just download on your phone. You sign up in 2 minutes and you're in. It's free. And you can find that link in the description, and on all our videos, you can find that link. But I was chatting in there, it was the third quarter.
Yep.
And Olave was clearly the number 1 receiver. And I'm like, guys, it's here. He was the number 1 receiver last week, and it's the third quarter of this game. He's the number 1 receiver there. And it's only going to get better, because I'm telling you guys, he has what you want in an NFL wide receiver. If you can run routes and get open in the NFL, you're going to be fine as a wide receiver. So.
Yep. And speaking of the Discord, Roberto, our man, talked to him this morning on the Patreon Start Sit show. He said he's 1 in 6 of his 8 leagues so far.
Well done.
Right.
Well done.
Hopefully you pull out those other 2.
Yeah. Hopefully you can go 8 for 8.
All right. Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb?
This one's closer. I think I'm going to go CeeDee. I just feel better about his target share than I do with Jeudy, especially Jeudy coming off an injury. I'm going to go CeeDee.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's CeeDee. He's getting the targets, decent matchup here against the Giants. So, yeah, I'll go CeeDee. Roberto has a very good question. Is there a chance that Daniel Jones goes for less than 3 points? Absolutely, there is.
I mean, maybe he gets hurt. Even Daniel Jones can get 3. 3 points, that's pretty high. Unless he has a 4 interception game or something, which I guess he could do, but He's probably getting more than 3.
Look, just off the top of my head, I think he was one of the league leaders in fumbles last year. Probably. I feel that feels right to me to say that. So,
all right. Well, Bus just threw this up or whatever. Just real quick. So Bears head coach says they received positive news on Montgomery's lower leg injury. Says he's day to day. Day to day is usually a pretty good sign because usually they'll say something like, "Well, we'll see, we'll see." But if it's saying day to day, that actually somewhat encouraging. So.
I think about like James Conner, his ankle. He was day to day, and he played, and so probably
don't go dropping all your fab on Herbert,
right?
If he's out there.
Okay, here's a trade question. A very interesting one. Trade Herbert and Kelsey for Josh Allen and Mark Andrews.
Yes, I think you have to. Like Andrews looks awesome. Josh Allen looks awesome. I mean, Herbert's great too, and Kelsey's great too, but. Yeah, I think you have to do that.
I mean, Josh Allen's still the number 1 quarterback in fantasy until further notice. I don't think Justin Herbert.
Maybe Lamar Jackson actually. Lamar Jackson with another 40-pointer today.
That's true.
But Josh Allen like every week
over Herbert. Yeah.
All right, here we go. It's finally happening. People are finally with me. Do we drop DJ Moore and his 1 catch? For 2 yards. Okay, DJ Moore, through 3 games, has 86 yards. Baker Mayfield, shockingly, not a QB upgrade for DJ Moore. Shockingly, not the best QB he's ever played with. Who would have guessed? Who would have thunk? But anyways, are you dropping DJ Moore for Dobbs?
I mean... I don't know. I don't drop him for Dobbs. I don't think so. Moore will have some games where he does something.
Well, he scored a touchdown last week, so he has done something.
I don't know. I mean, you don't have to worry about this because you don't have DJ Moore. Although I don't either. So,
like, there's got to be okay. But for real talk, there's got to be somebody else you can drop.
Look, could you do that? Like, yeah, that you could. That's not the worst thing in the world. I probably wouldn't. I'd hold off a little longer, But
he's getting close to Mooney territory for me though. Like he's in the panic video tonight, but I legit say this is the last time I'm talking about it. Like if he goes 2 for 20 next week, I'm not talking about him. And don't comment below like, what about DJ Moore? Like, nah, the panic was we're past panicking about DJ Moore. It's like he's irrelevant pretty much. Sadly.
You won't need to talk about him because nobody will be starting him anyways.
Exactly. AL, it's sad but true. He's looking dusty. Like great matchup last week with the Falcons. I mean, he scored that touchdown. Great, even probably maybe a better matchup this week against the Cardinals.
What happened to all that preseason hype we talked about? How he's looking, he's dominating the defense and the connection and all this. I mean, what happened to that? And then we got Ben Skowronek getting more targets than him. And Tyler Higbee's like, well, I got no one else to throw to, and Cup's covered, so I got to throw to Tyler Higbee. Like, what happened?
Yeah, you gotta ignore that camp hype. Camp hype is almost like the kiss of death. So if a guy's getting hyped up in camp, because like Cooper Kupp's not getting hyped up in camp because they're not like they know. Okay, yeah, if guys getting hyped up in camp, it's almost like the kiss of death because it's like people aren't oh, we didn't expect this. So,
all right, Stinger, good job, Stinger. Traded Aguilar and Singletary for Lamb. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's a good deal for you. Good. Singletary, I think, is probably going to be in the sell high this week. He caught like 6 passes this week. Like what? Where'd that come from? Like, good time to trade Singletary if you can.
That's going to be James Cook pretty soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, James Cook actually was getting run in this game, and this was not a blowout. This was a game, a competitive game. They lost, so obviously it was a competitive game, and James Cook was getting run. He's getting receptions. Now is the time to trade Singletary because he's coming off a nice game. Trade him if you can.
All right. What else?
Who would have thought? Like, so here you go. Paul Anthony. Who would have thought in week 3 you'd be saying, I started CMC and Eckler, and you'd have the skull emoji. Like, that's how bad it is right now. It's like.
Well, but CMC got like 100 yards, didn't he?
Yeah, but okay, he got 100 yards and caught like 2 passes, but nobody's drafting CMC for 13 fantasy points. That's the thing here. Like, Dalvin Cook got 100 yards and scored a touchdown and got you, 13 fantasy points? Like This is not what you drafted these guys for. Like, we didn't draft first round. Like, I can get 13 fantasy points in round 5. I don't need 13 fantasy points for my first round running backs. So
Yeah.
I mean, like, CMC hasn't been bad for real life. Like, CMC has been good in real life. But what was the argument for CMC? If he's healthy, he has league-breaking ceiling. He has not come close to a league-breaking ceiling in any game this year. So I definitely get it. And,
I mean, look, on the one hand, you can say, well, no, we just talked about it. None of these first-round running backs did. Jonathan Taylor didn't have a big game. Swift didn't even play, basically. Eckler was non-existent except for catching a few passes. Like, all these guys kind of sucked this week. The good news is you can say, well, that plus CMC, he actually carried the ball 25 times, and he's healthy. Like, he's out there. He's getting the volume. What I worry about is the fact that it's still Ben McAdoo as the offensive coordinator, and this offense is killing DJ Moore. It's killing, CMC from being an elite, value. And then they're really not much better than they were last year with Sam Darnold or whoever they had.
I think the big problem for CMC is, like, I'd rather see CMC catch 7 passes and get 15 carries than see him get 25 carries and catch 2 passes, right? Like,
but a lot of that too is because they were winning. They actually could run the ball, and usually they're losing. So,
well, that's true. But even, like, how many? Like, what does McCaffrey have? Anyways, find a different question while I look this up. Like, how many catches did Christian McCaffrey?
All right, well, I'm going to throw this up. Martin, I thought it was Martin Martini B. Said he's going to subscribe. He was down later below. He said he's a first-time viewer. He's going to check us out on Tuesday for the live waiver show. He's got the first waiver wire pick in both of his leagues. Well, you know what? Check out the video, of course, tomorrow, but also buy low, sell high. Chris is going to put those out, and then we will see you on Tuesday night because we're going to go live again. Yeah, thanks for checking us out. We'll definitely try to help you in both those leagues. And then we do now, under the gun, we have a super chat from Brooks. Would you trade McLaurin for Brees and J-Rob? I just offered that.
Like, wait, you're getting both of those guys? If you're getting both of those guys, you bet go. Don't even listen to us finish talking. Go hit accept right now.
Yeah,
hit accept. But I would take either of those guys over Terry McLaurin. I know McLaurin had a decent day today. He got like some catches down the stretch in garbage time, but just not a big ceiling in this offense. There's too many targets here. And look, Carson Wentz played a real defense today, and we saw the real Carson Wentz today. He's not good. Like, he's not going to get the Lions and the Jaguars every week like he got in weeks 1 and weeks 2. Brees Hall ready to break out and take over that offense, and he's an awesome talent, awesome prospect. And J-Rob looks great. So either of those guys, yes.
Yeah. Even if you didn't need running backs, I would take that deal just because you get to the better end of it. Throw in Dortch. Who cares? Dortch in a couple of weeks will be irrelevant because Hopkins will be playing more. We'll be back. Do it now. Brees and J-Rob, do it now.
Yeah, throw in Dortch when Hopkins gets back. I mean, what did Dortch even really do anything today? A few catches?
Arizona didn't do anything today.
Oh, man. Kyler Murray, you're on the panic video, buddy.
Yeah, yardage, but no touchdowns.
Yeah, maybe do one more.
Yeah, so we got 1 minute. Game's about to kick off. See when you like.
Let's see.
Yeah, that Arizona offense is pretty trash. I think Kingsbury, honestly, I thought Matt Rule maybe was the worst head coach out there right now. I think Kingsbury might be it because he's got the talent. Like, there's really no excuse. And that defense, really, there's no excuse for that defense to be as bad as it is. They do have some good players. It's just, yeah, Vance Joseph needs to stop thinking he can just blitz every play and get away with it.
Yeah, let's see if try to find something we haven't talked about yet.
Here's a trade question. It's interesting. Okay. Do you trade London and CEH for Chase and Pollard?
Man, CEH looked good again today. I mean, I know we liked him this week against the Colts without Leonard, but he looked good again today. London looks good. I know. I mean, it's hard to not take Chase. I just wish you were getting more than Pollard. That's my issue with this.
I'm taking Chase because, again, I don't feel like CH is like a locked in every week running back too. I think he's looking good, but I'm taking Chase.
I mean, I get it. I just wish we're getting a little more than Pollard.
Yeah, you can always counter.
Yeah, I mean, something a little better than Pollard, but I'd probably still take it 2 just to get Chase. Yeah, and then of course this one, of course, Chase Edmonds 2 touchdowns today. Like, of course, who knows? Like this backfield to me, I'm just staying away. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I missed out on the Chase Edmonds 2 touchdowns this week, but at least I didn't have to worry about the Chase Edmonds 4-touch game that he's going to probably have next week.
Yeah, right before he scored that second touchdown, he got hit high and it looked like maybe, he's going to be in the protocol. And then I think people got a little excited in this quarter, like, oh, we pick up Mostert now. At least we know. But then he came back and he scored again. So it's like,
yeah, apparently the Dolphins, they don't do the concussion protocol there in Miami. Tua can't even walk, and they're like, no, you're good, get back out there. Chase Edmonds gets rocked in the face. No, you're good, go score a touchdown. They don't do the concussion protocol in Miami. Like, get back out there, you're fine.
Yeah, their protocol for concussions is smelling salt. It's like, all right, you good? You're good. All right, get out there.
Yeah, are you good? Yes. Okay, good. He's good. You sure he's good? I asked him. He said yes. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, when they ask how many fingers, you just have to round up like within the nearest 10, and then you're good.
Yeah. I mean, I had 3 fingers up. He said 5. It's close enough. We got any more?
I don't see any more start sit. I don't see any crazy trade questions. It is 7:30.
Right. Yeah, it's 7:30 or 5:30 or 6:30 or whatever time zone you're in.
Oh, my time. 8:30 Eastern.
8:30. All right. Well, that was fun. It's always fun. Always fun talking about the games for sure.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for hopping on. We're going to see you live again Tuesday night. Answer your important waiver wire questions, also trade questions, do everything we can for you. Now, of course, you want to know who you should be worried about, who you shouldn't be. That's why we got the panic video. So basically just sit tight. And then you can watch that tonight too at halftime of the game. Or is it after the game?
After the game.
Right after the game. And keep it going and you get the full breakdown there. And of course, tomorrow morning, early sense of waiver wire and which injuries matter, get more details there. And of course, start sit all throughout the week. Guys, we got you covered. So hit the notification bell so you'll know as soon as something comes out or when we go live. All right. So good luck the rest of the way this week.